why don't we kick things off here, and we'll start out with a few intros. I'm Kyle. I run social here at Avalabs and Avalanche. So Priya, why don't you give us a quick intro on yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Priya Chandel, and I'm the executive director of Bye Bye Plastic USA. We are a global nonprofit that was started by DJ and producer Blondish to eliminate single use plastics in the music and events and entertainment industry.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. Really excited to have you. And Jay, you want to say a quick hello?
Hey everyone, VP Marketing at Ava Labs. Focus on a bunch of different things, but predominantly for this conversation, I've been pretty involved with the events series, especially with Priya, Cami, and the rest of the Bye Bye Plastic team as well.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, so let's kick things off. There's been a lot that has come to light from this partnership, and I think it's a perfect time for us to kind of share more with the community about how things became what they are, what some of the goals are, what's happened at some of these past Avalanche events. But I think we wanted to kind of kick things off about how did this partnership between Avalanche and Bye Bye Plastic come to be? I know Priya, you wanted to chime in a little bit here, and I'll let you both kind of share your story about how these two parties came together.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's definitely important to start with, I'll ask you this, Jay. Um, what exactly were Avalanche's goals for sustainability as a company? And how were you guys seeking to bring those values down into your event sector? And what exactly were you looking for in a sustainability partner? And how did you find that with Bye Bye Plastic?
The main goals that we were trying to accomplish were how do we actually externalize some of the value propositions of Avalanche as a blockchain. The most complex challenge that we have as marketers and storytellers is how do we bring some of the key points of the product to life. And so one of them, of course, being eco-friendliness, as the report that we kind of saw last year, I think early or maybe earlier this year, actually, Avalanche was measured to consume the equivalent of approximately 60 households in the US in terms of electricity. So really, really low amounts of consumption. And right now, a lot of different blockchains and also Web3 solutions and just broadly fintech, I would say, and tech too. A lot of people talk about environmental friendliness. And I think the best way to really communicate that is not only to say exactly the stats, I think that's one portion, but the other portion is to really communicate that through experiences and also the rest of the marketing initiatives that we're putting out in the world. And so, of course, with events, it would be very silly of us if we produced events that didn't focus on environmentally friendly experiences. And I think we aspire to also do even more than that, especially with partners like you. And so that's where I think the real kind of story behind the scenes is like, was talking to Viv. I think Viv was saying, "Hey, like I also actually run this company that is super successful in the music industry. I have a background in music as well, and so I think that's really how it started going. And once the commitment was there, your guys' team was really incredible and really showed us a lot of these really creative ways to minimize our event impact. I think the first time we engaged was for Avalanche Summit last year in Barcelona. We learned a ton. I think we made a few uh, decisions that were a little bit more, I guess, a little bit rough when it comes to the experience. Like I remember the first time we did it was let's have cups be reused, generally speaking. I know that sounds like a really easy brief, but when it's in practice, it actually is pretty difficult to get thousands and thousands of people to comply to the vision and also the rules that you set forth. And so a lot of it is not only just implementing kind of green solutions, but also the other part is really how do you educate the audience? And I think that's what's really amazing about this partnership. And we have so many more ideas to continue to level our capabilities up within the environmentally friendly vertical.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think there's a really great kind of message there that when you share that there's the environmental friendliness of the blockchain itself, you have to bring that into everything that goes around it, including events. And you talked a little bit about this, about Bye Bye Plastic's background in the music industry. Priya, I wanted to ask you a little bit about kind of how Bye Bye Plastic started and the impact that you've made in some of the biggest music events around the world.
Yeah. So the way in which Bye Bye Plastic started is a very memorable experience that I think almost anyone who has attended a concert or a festival has experienced. I think we all know what the sound of the crunch, like when your foot hits a plastic cup or a water bottle, feels like, or you're walking through a crowd and you're kicking trash. And so that's really having that visual experience is where that was the inception of Bye Bye Plastic. Blondish, aka Vivi Bakos, was playing at Warung Beach Club in Brazil, and it was a sunrise set, and she was watching as the crowd was dissipating, and all there was left was a sea of trash and people stepping all over this trash. And I think she had this realization that, we're having fun, but at what expense? And where is the lack of personal or social responsibility in this scene? And so she connected with Cami, who is our other co-founder and managing director of Bye Bye Plastic Europe, and just formed a team of other like-minded individuals who had a passion for music, but also for sustainability, that could bring this concept of, again, personal responsibility into this scene so we could party, but doing it guilt-free and doing it a way where we're actually creating sustainable structures for people and, attendees and audiences to come in and actually flourish in a scene that is in alignment with how they feel versus being subjected to a system or a structure that had been put in place with single use solely to benefit the bottom line of an event or a festival.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, we've all been to a lot of different events where you can tell that there's certain things that have been implemented to try to reduce that, whether it's more trash cans or different types of bottles that are being sold. But there really is a lot of work to be done in any type of large scale event, whether it be a music festival or a crypto conference, as there's many, many more conferences popping up all over the world. What are some of like the key trends that you're seeing in these large events becoming more sustainable? Like, what are some of these events trying to implement? Probably with your help, what are some of those trends that you're seeing, and what are some areas that you think that big events need to improve to become more green?
Yeah, just off the top of my head, I think one of or a few of the biggest trends that we're seeing right now is the switch from plastic water bottles to aluminum cans. And I'm really happy that Jay touched on the education component, because with sustainability being really sexy right now, people are trying. But what we're finding is that without the knowledge or the education and viewing sustainability as a holistic program, when event producers are trying to kind of Frankenstein components of their sustainability program, what we're seeing is the initiative or the effort is there, but the impact is not, because there has been something down the chain of the process that was not thought about or was not executed properly. So, for example, with the aluminum cans, it's an amazing alternative to plastic water bottles. Aluminum is infinitely recyclable, so it's a great resource. However, if at the end of the event the aluminum is actually ending up in trash cans and not recycling, or there isn't proper sorting happening at the event, or if the event is in a jurisdiction that actually doesn't recycle at all, there's kind of a loop or a hole in the program where, again, the full intention was there, but the execution was just not done properly. So the impact that we had the intention for doesn't happen. Another thing that I would like to highlight is having a reusable cup system. Reusable cup systems are an amazing way to eliminate single-use cup waste, because if you imagine, at any event that you go to, one person can consume between like 2 to 4 drinks, and every time they're going to the bar, they're getting a new drink. It's a new cup, and they're using it for maybe like 10 minutes. But with the reusable cup system, you're changing the psychology from I grab this, use it for a limited amount of time, and then I throw it in the trash, never to be seen again, to I'm holding a cup, and when I'm finished, I go back to the bar and get a new drink in that same cup. Or once I'm done using this cup, I'm going to properly dispose of this in a respective bin collection or cup return station and be incentivized for returning those cups. So it's definitely something that is new to the US market. It's a system that is very common in Europe. But I would say the biggest challenge and a huge area of improvement for us here stateside in getting people to adapt to this system, like Jay mentioned, is education. How does this system work? Why is this system being implemented? How can you benefit from actually following these rules, and do this enough times until this becomes a new social norm?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that education piece is really important, and just kind of the mental training of what it's like to use these systems at an event and how that changes your prior perception of getting drinks or using cups. And so, leading into Avalanche Summit, which was the first partnership between Avalabs and Bye Bye Plastic, uh, I wanted to kind of ask how did that kind of conversation come about? What were some of the challenges that you were both facing in determining what would be implemented for this event, and what ended up being some of the key elements that took place at Avalanche Summit that kind of made it more sustainable?
The full goal for Avalanche Summit was again just like let's see how we can minimize impact as best as possible. At least from my view, I had no idea really that it could actually expand way beyond reusable cups effectively. So there's some things I know, especially talking to Priya and Cami, there's a lot of schooling that had to be done, at least for myself and even our team, which was amazing. And still, I think more and more, we're really learning about all these creative endeavors in which we can minimize our impact. And so I think the really cool part is not so much of what we've done in the past, which I can kind of touch on really quickly, but also more so like how can we get more creative with how to be at zero effectively in our impact, and then also then effectively give back um, is kind of the ultimate goal. Not just with events. This also includes how we are organized as a team. This includes all the different activations that exist digitally. What's the digital impact there as well? How could we offset that, especially with like server costs and things like that. And so with Summit, of course, in the event scope, it really was focused towards again the focus of reuse. But from there, it really was okay. How do we actually get 4,000, basically 4,500 people to commit to following those rules? And I remember the first day, people didn't really purely understand the reusables kind of momentum, and that was because we were really tight on time and we just didn't have the proper uh, communications open to actually give everybody a comprehensive heads up, which is okay. I think that was just what it was at the time. But I think moving forward, the learning was all right. Well, we're gonna have to maybe figure out simple things really like better signage, better communications at the door, better communications via email. How do we also, as Avalanche, how do we tie this back into our product if possible? And how can we actually show people how to follow this new path forward? Because I think personally, and also I think as a team as well, we started to realize Well, yeah, we're in actually a really privileged position of power where we can actually change societal behaviors. I know blockchain has a lot of different promises to change how people collaborate with each other, how people interact with each other. And so I don't think we should stop just at the tech. And so I think that's really where we started to try and get a little bit more creative. But otherwise, the event went amazingly well after that first day. We really figured out how best to mitigate some of those challenges. And Priya was also very much involved in the lead for the Brooklyn event. And even then, I think that was much, much smoother in operation. And so the whole point of really giving Bye Bye Plastic a lot of visibility is they're very, very large in the music space. They're pretty, actually pretty large in the crypto space as well, but not necessarily as large as they are in the music space. So we would love to continue to lead by example, show projects, maybe Avalanche projects, of course, but also beyond the walls of the Avalanche ecosystem, that responsibility is really important, and that's why we're doing something like the spaces. We also published that blog post that kind of outlines what we're doing. This is just a step in the right direction. I'm excited to see where this goes when it comes to what does Bye Bye Plastic and Avalanche look like in a year from now. It might be even beyond goes beyond events, and so that's kind of the whole goal with conversations like this. We just need to start to talk about this, be open about the mistakes, and but also the success stories as well, and see what people have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's really great about this partnership is the ability to lead by example, to show how some of these things can be implemented across all different types of events in Web3 so that others can take some of these learnings and partner with a team like Bye Bye Plastic to bring some of these elements to all of these events so that we can, like you said, kind of alter the behavior of people to kind of make these things more sustainable. I guess for this is or for both of you, like what for both Summit and Avalanche House Brooklyn, what are some of the more like successful ways that these initiatives were implemented? You know, I don't know if you can speak to any specific like metrics or things that we were able to solve at both of these events. I know that they were both kind of different, and we had a lot of learnings from Summit that went into Avalanche House Brooklyn. But if you want to touch on some of the successes that we saw from the initiatives that we implemented.
Yeah, definitely. So for both events, I think one of the biggest things was we implemented an absolutely no straw policy on the event. So to the stat that you just shared, calculating at 2 straws on average per beverage, we would have landed at over 10,000 straws just being used at in Brooklyn that we avoided altogether, um, which is astronomical if you think about what 10,000 straws in front of you just all being used maybe in the quantity of like 5 to 10 minutes would look like. Um, Additionally, for both, we did the reusable cup system. At Avalanche House, we eliminated over 6,000 cups, so diverting them from landfill. Um, in Summit, we did a hybrid actually of the reusable cups along with glassware, which is again another amazing alternative to plastic cups, depending on the event. And another notable thing is the Bring Your Own Cup program for both. Guests were encouraged to bring their own cup or bottle to the event and were incentivized with prizes if they did. And at the event, they were met with water stations for refills, and again, the reusable cups as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of those were really successful, and you know, when you combine it with some of the cool water bottles that we were giving out as merch and other things that incentivize people to bring their own cups, I think it really did help minimize that impact. And there's some great stats in our blog about some of those success stories as well. So one of the things also, Priya, you mentioned in our story that you've you Bye Bye Plastic is looking to partner with like-minded people. You know, you you find this in the music industry, especially in certain genres and certain industries where people do really care about the impact maybe that they're making while also having a good time. And you mentioned that you've kind of found like-minded people in the Web3 space. Can you share a little bit more about what you're seeing interacting at some of these crypto events, and how you're seeing people react to initiatives like this?
Absolutely. One of the biggest challenges that we've had, especially launching Bye Bye Plastic in the US, is really the mentality in the music space around the cost of sustainability. So often, before the conversation is even had, where we're even able to present the creative solutions that we have towards creating, a plastic free experience, we're met with resistance, especially around, sorry, like, if you're talking sustainability, that's going to cost me too much money. I'm not interested. Whereas in the crypto and Web3 space, we're very much working with people in a culture that is against that grain. It's like, I don't want to hear for no, like, no is not an answer. It's like, I have a solution, I have the initiative. Let's do this, and let's do it now. Let's do it fast. We have, if there is an obstacle, we can find a solution, or we can get the right people in the room to make this happen. And so it was really imperative for us, especially coming out of COVID, where we saw the increase in single use plastics spike exponentially because of health concerns. Where in the music scene, we were like, this is going to set us back ages. And I think that the intersection of the time that we came in from COVID concerns to the spike in crypto enthusiasts was that, especially with Blondish taking the lead in both worlds, was that we very quickly connected with people who, they had the resources, they had the interest, they had the connections, and they were like, whatever you need to do, we can make this happen. So we can have this impact now versus 5 years from now or 10 years from now, compared to, most sustainability plans. Like, I think we're all kind of tired of hearing global leaders or corporate leaders saying, we'll be carbon reduced by 2050, or we'll be reducing our plastic distribution by, 2100. Like, we don't have that time. We're already seeing our wildlife swimming around in straws and bottle caps and masks. Like, the time really is now. And working and being connected to people who are very much in alignment with the speed of things and the futuristic vision, as well as being able to make things happen on the financial end. It really expedited our growth and the way that we were able to create the impact that we wanted to do here in such a short time.
And Priya, quick kind of like turn in the conversation. But one of the things that I know was super helpful for me and some of the team members to understand is like what's out there when it comes to really cool, innovative ways to offset carbon emissions, greenhouse gases, anything that minimizes environmental impact. Do you have any in mind that you can maybe share with people listening right now?
Yeah, so we have partnered with a couple of companies. One is the Climate Gig. Primarily, we have pushed this more in the music space because obviously we work with DJs who are touring and flying all over the place. And the one criticism a lot of these artists face is, okay, you're preaching on sustainability, but like, why are you on a private jet, or why are you flying all over the place? Why don't you just like play from your room? And although that's not exactly the most realistic situation, at least we can then connect them to other organizations also in the sustainability space who are working on either reducing carbon emissions or tracking, implementing carbon credit programs like Nori, and yeah, like really building that bridge. Because although we focus specifically on single-use plastics, again, when we're connecting with other key players in the industry, it's like, how can we make this whole sustainability initiative circular for our artists or our audience, or even our event producers?
And with Nori too, I think I can expand on that a little bit, just because I've been talking to some of the Nori team, and when they told me what they are working on, that's when I was actually really pleasantly surprised. Nori is actually, so for those that don't know what Nori is a newly Web3 powered company. They actually started focusing on how to remove carbon from the atmosphere. Oftentimes, when you deal with carbon credits, they are just financial instruments to basically tell the government you are buying rights to pollute effectively. They're not actually credits to remove carbon from the atmosphere, nor does it offset your impact. And so, what Nori sought out to do is they found a really cool way, high level. I'm going to explain it because I don't really know exactly how it works, but effectively, they have farmers that have a technique where you can actually bury the carbon into the ground and remove that from the atmosphere. And so what they saw is they actually saw potential for a marketplace. And what they saw with the marketplace is they saw potential within Web3. Of course, marketplaces are really low hanging fruit when it comes to what blockchain can actually disrupt, and in terms of its processes and whatnot. And what then is the next phase that they're focusing on is how do you create a marketplace to connect enterprises and large organizations to these farmers, so then there can be a proper market, and you can kind of see where this is going. And so I think in some near term you will be able to actually purchase that as a company, directly from the farmers without all the intermediaries, of course, because it's enabled by blockchain. So just wanted to kind of expand on that. When I heard about what Nori is working on, and how they're really focused on the problem at hand as opposed to the tech that's enabling it. That to me was really cool. Of course, I love everything that's going on in the space, but usually the things that really stick out to me are the ones that are actually making real impact in our world.
Yeah, that's great. I think there's a lot going on in different spaces like that, and it's I think what Bye Bye Plastic is doing is really leading the charge in these specific areas. And I know you've been working on potentially some other crypto events, and you've been around, R2 events and some of the other ones you've attended and been a part of. Priya, are there other things that you're looking at in terms of like what's next for sustainability for large scale crypto events? You have thousands of people coming in from different parts of the world who probably have different ways of living and wherever they come from. And what are some of the ways that you're looking to help crypto or specific events overall become more environmentally conscious?
Yeah, for specifically crypto related events, I think there's a lot of room to explore and get creative, specifically when it comes to education. Again, I feel like when and where we have been at these crypto events, we have found great success, with like high cup return numbers, high data in terms of diversion. But I think what we can do is really focus on more education, and do it in a way that's very crypto slash web3 focused. And I don't know if that would be, like one thing, for example, we did our own event in New York in June where we soft launched our NFT collection. And so I think moving forward with, I mean, all depending on the market, but we've seen a lot of education actually happening around sustainability through different NFT projects. We've seen a lot of fundraising happening through NFT projects. So how can we bring the creative benefit or the value add or the value of, even an NFT community into an actual crypto event space to engage the community.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's it's really cool. I'm also seeing a lot of these different communities, even some DAOs that are springing up to try to fundraise or find other ways to help minimize our environmental impact in many different ways, whether it be carbon credits or planting trees or hosting events and educational elements. So it's really great that Bye Bye Plastic is kind of taking that dive into the Web3 aspect of it, not just partnering with a team like Avalabs to help out our events, but taking your own journey into how can the mechanics of Web3 help um, just different environmental initiatives that will help across the board. So I think that's a really great move into kind of doing it yourself and not just being a partner at these events. And so what we're gonna
Yeah.
do. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Just one more thing. One thing that I would actually like to see for the future, and I think there's so much potential in the crypto Web3 space, is moving from IRL experiences like an event to doing online, like hybrid IRL online events, but like campaigns essentially. So like, Avalanche, for example, has such a large community and a network. How could we in the future possibly do something where we're doing like an online activation, kind of like an event, but it's for the whole Avalanche community, but also inciting them to go out into the real world and maybe do like a cleanup or something like that, and then come back to this online community and then like congregate around that, and then getting the different NFT projects and like all of these other little communities inside of Avalanche involved and contributing to the success of this overall vision. Sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't really articulate that
No, I
amazingly.
know.
I have the vision, but I'm like, how do I actually word this? But yeah, I would
No.
really like to see that be kind of the future, because there are so many people in this space right now, but not all of these people can come to, like a Avalanche Summit or an Avalanche House. So like, how can we do something that we push online, but then it's inciting people around the globe to go out, get into the world, create this impact, and then come back online and celebrate that success.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, just the way that different communities are formed in the Web3 space, that's very possible just because of how much people are engaging online, but then, taking those experiences in real life. I've seen a lot of what you and your team have done in the music space with some of these cleanups, and it's really cool. You see like top DJs that come together to like be a part of these different activations where they're cleaning up around certain events or they're helping out their own communities. But it's really cool to see people celebrate that online. And I think when you have Web3 communities interacting so much on platforms like Discord and creating these micro communities, there definitely can be a way to create an online movement where things happen in real life, but there's definitely a community engagement where people from opposite sides of the world are maybe doing the same sort of activation on the same weekend or something like that. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there, and I think it's really exciting that you and your team are thinking through those things and how to leverage these large and engaged communities that may not always be in the same place at the same time, but can use things like DAOs or NFT drops to fundraise and help people across the world do these things together. So it's really cool. Jay, kind of last question over to you is, are there any other ways that you're hoping to see, future Avalanche events or activations implement some of these other strategies to minimize the environmental impact?
The last time we spoke as a kind of team, both of our teams actually, is we thought about a lot of different ideas and started to really get pretty in the weeds with what worked and what didn't. And that's was kind of step one. Step two is really about how do you actually address those things that didn't work. So I think on the event side, we probably have that under control with of course the Bye Bye Plastic team and also our team who's kind of gotten to speed up to speed as to what works really well within our community. So I think this is where then my goal is, let's start to bring this outward, like I was saying before, of how do we bring this beyond events? How can we actually, and let's say, like, let's bring that example that I said earlier about the energy consumption that Avalanche takes on, which is again equivalent to that 60-ish, approximately 60 American households. Wouldn't it be amazing if we could continuously maintain a net zero emissions rate, first and foremost? And then also beyond that, wouldn't it be amazing if we could actually figure out ways to contribute beyond that? And so I think there's some things that I've personally seen where you are actually creating mechanisms that do extract carbon out of the environment. So similar to the NOR example, I know there are things that involve trees of some sort or like living organisms that are actually very efficient in doing this. There's plenty of other opportunities. Like Priya was talking about, one of the things I want to avoid at all costs is to be that hand wavy organization and really start to take action. So really the holistic goal is, let's just get closer to our end goal as people and human beings. And I think we're taking the right steps in the right direction so far. So pretty excited to see what comes out of it. And a little bit, or a lot of it actually, is probably in the unknown until we kind of think through what works best with our events. But of course, we have so many events coming up, um, not too many public, but some could probably guess on what we're trying to gear up towards. And so those also will be kind of the V2 implementations of what we saw last year at our events.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for that breakdown. So what I want to do now is just I want to open it up to see if anybody in the audience here had any questions about Bye Bye Plastic and sustainability efforts in the Avalanche events, or just their efforts in different events overall. So yeah, if anybody has any questions before we wrap up, we just want to leave a few minutes for that. But if not, we can share any closing thoughts with our speakers. But first off, just wanted to see if anybody has any particular questions about this. Just I know it's really great to have you all here, and really trying to spread the news about how we can collectively in the Web3 space do more to make our events more sustainable. So yeah, if you have any questions, request up to be a speaker. But yeah, once again, thank you all for joining. It's been really great to be able to share this partnership with Bye Bye Plastic, and we're really appreciative of everything they've done to come into our events and help us build out these initiatives and these strategies and help our community learn different ways of doing that.
I have a quick question for Priya. Is like, what are you looking forward to most on the BBP side? Like, what's excites you looking ahead, whether that's happening end of this year or next year?
Next year, I'm most looking forward to more creative and engaging on-site activations. This year in the US, I think we focused solely on the structure of a sustainability program, and a lot of that is very back of house. So that's, doing the systems and the ordering and all of that stuff, and, education now. But moving forward, now that we've been in the US now for almost a year, our team is growing. Next year, moving forward, I want to see Bye Bye Plastic be also back of house and front of house, so that the activations we're creating at the events that we have created a transition for can create a space for the attendees to come in and learn about Bye Bye Plastic, learn about the sustainability initiatives of the event producer that we're working with, and do it in a very fun, creative, memorable way where they'll walk away not only just having like more education around the topic of sustainability, but have had a really good time with us.
That's awesome. Yeah, you have to make sure that everyone's having a good time too. So it's really, I think, awesome that you and your team are also rooted in the music space, which probably allows you to make sure that not only are you implementing these initiatives, but you're making sure that it still allows the attendees of these events to have a good time. So we'll probably go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we're really all about fun. I mean, I think that's why all of us we love music. We love going to these events because it's such a fun time. But I think it's really important when a lot of people can get bogged down behind the numbers and the science of sustainability and, are we executing this right? We really want to get people from their heads and into their bodies. And, just so I can paint a little picture here to understand what I mean by an on-site activation, one thing that we're working on curating is a Bye Bye Plastic Oasis, which would be a moss with a moss covered dance floor. So people would be requested to remove their shoes and then put their shoes in like a, you know, security bin and then go out onto a dance floor that's pure moss so they feel and actually are connecting with nature while the music is going that's played by a DJ who actually is in our eco writer community, and then that whole environment is like this little oasis with, reusable water stations and reusable cups and all of that stuff. So maybe that's something we can think about for a future Avalanche event. But these are the type of like very sensory activations that we want to start creating, because that's how you can get people to tip their social behavior.
Well, that sounds awesome to me. So sign me up when the Oasis happens, and I'll leave it up to Jay to bring the Oasis to Avalanche Summit. But
No
yeah,
pressure.
no pressure, no pressure. I just I'm gonna be watching some panels and then going and dancing on some moss. So I'm excited for Summit. But Priya, we just wanted to thank you for joining us. Wanted to thank you for all the hard work and the partnership that you've brought to the Avalanche community, and we're looking forward to really working together to share more of these initiatives and these programs with the larger Web3 space. And also really glad that everybody else here joined us so that we could kind of talk a little bit more about what we're doing, and there will be lots more to come. So I think we're going to wrap things up. For either of you, if you have any closing thoughts, go for it.
Yeah, thank you again for having me. And I really do look forward to our partnership moving forward, especially 2023. And for those of you guys who are listening, thank you for joining. And yeah, give us a follow so you can stay up to date on where Bye Bye Plastic is going next. Thanks again.
Yeah, where can people find you and follow you across different socials?
Yeah, here on Twitter, we're just at Bye Bye Plastic. And then Facebook and Instagram, we are Bye Bye Plastic Life.
Nice. Okay, cool. Well, thanks for joining us again, Jay. Thanks for hopping in. And yeah, we'll see you everybody next time. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Priya. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jay. Have a good evening now.
Yeah, evening now.
See you guys. Thanks.
Awesome.
Bye,
See ya.
guys. Have a good one.
Bye bye.